of that month. It's an event that I look forward to all year. It's one of my favorite events of the year. And as you can see, we're videotaping it this year for the 4th time. So we've recorded for future posterity this experience of regular people reading remarkable poetry. So it's an exciting day for me. I just want to say a couple things about this event for those of you who may be here for the first time. A few years ago, perhaps you know that the United States has a poet laureate. And a few years ago, that position was held by a poet named Robert Pinsky. And Pinsky started what he called the Favorite Poem Project. And it was based on a couple of ideas that he had, one of which was that Americans really do have favorite poems. I guess the first assumption was that Americans read poetry, and Americans have favorite poems. And Pinsky believes that poetry really should be read out loud. He says, if a poem is written well, it was written with the poet's voice and for a voice. Reading a poem silently instead of saying a poem is like the difference between staring at sheet music and actually humming or playing the music on an instrument. And I believe that's true as well. So the Favorite Poem Project's really grown in the last few years, and it includes now thousands of readings like this, large and small and formal and informal, just times for Americans to get together and share the poems that have made a difference in their own lives. It's not a day or those of us who struggle to write poetry, it's not really a day to read our own poems. It's a day to read the poems of people that have inspired us. Our goal every year is to get readers from all walks of life at St. Thomas to stand up here and read their favorite poems. It's really I like to say it's a potluck. It's a potluck poetry reading, and like most potlucks, you risk ending up with like lots of dishes of tuna noodle casserole and not enough cake, and yet we've had really good luck here getting a balance. A mix and a nicely balanced mix of wonderful poetry from people. I just want to thank all the readers who are going to read today. We have found over the years, as we've tried to get people to participate in this event, that the favorite time to read a poem is at next year's event. So if next year comes, we're going to have like a marathon reading. It's going to take all afternoon. And then thanks to Julie Kimlinger, who really coordinated this whole event and got the 10 readers that we have scheduled to read today. I hope everybody got a program. And what I'm going to ask is that the readers come up in order of the sequence on the program. Tell us who you are and what you do at St. Thomas. And then tell us a little bit about the poem that you're going to read and why it's special to you. And I'm going to begin by immediately breaking the rules because I'm not going to actually read a poem. I'd like to read a paragraph. This is by Rainer Maria Rilke, and it apparently comes from a novel of his. I haven't read the novel, but this is a wonderful passage from that novel about the writing of poetry, and I think it might be a good introduction to the day. It's called For the Sake of a Single Poem. Poems amount to so little when you write them too early in your life. You ought to wait and gather sense and sweetness for a whole lifetime, and a long one if possible. And then, at the very end, you might perhaps be able to write 10 good lines. For poems are not, as people think, simply emotions. One has emotions early enough. They are experiences. For the sake of a single poem, you must see many cities, many people and things. You must understand animals, must feel how birds fly, and know the gesture which small flowers make when they open in the morning. You must be able to think back to streets and unknown neighborhoods, to unexpected encounters, and to partings you had long seen coming, to days of childhood whose mystery is still unexplained, to parents whom you had to hurt when they brought in a joy and you didn't pick it up. It was a joy meant for someone else. To childhood illnesses that began so strangely and with so many profound and difficult transformations, to days in quiet, restrained rooms, and to mornings by the sea, to the sea itself, to seas, to nights of travel that rushed along high overhead and went flying with all the stars. And it is still not enough to be able to think of all that. You must have memories of many nights of love, each one different from all the others, memories of women screaming in labor, and of light, pale, sleeping girls who have just given birth and are closing again. But you must also have been beside the dying, must have sat beside the bedside of the dead in the room with the open window and the scattered noises. And it is not yet to have memories. It is not yet enough to have memories. You must be able to forget them when they are many, and you must have the immense patience to wait until they return. For the memories themselves are not important, only when they have changed into our very blood, into glance and gesture, and are nameless, no longer to be distinguished from ourselves. Only then can it happen that in some very rare hour, the first word of a poem arises in their midst and goes forth from them. Kelly? There you are.
Hello, my name's Kelly Koerpel, and I work in the alumni office here on campus. And I've chosen to read The Giving Tree, which many of you have probably heard before. It's by Shel Silverstein, and he writes children's poems and stories, as we all know. So this was one of my favorite stories growing up, and I've always kept it displayed in my office because I think it just has a really neat message. I read it to my brothers as they were growing up and to my students when I was a teacher, and I still keep it in my office today. But it's funny because I haven't looked at it in so long. And I thought, I better take a look at this as I'm thinking about what I'm going to read. And I was just reminded of the great message of love that this book holds for us. So especially in today's world, I think it's important to be reminded of this message of love. So this is The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. Once there was a tree, and she loved a little boy, and every day the boy would come, and he would gather her leaves and make them into crowns and play king of the forest. He would climb up her trunk and swing from her branches and eat apples, and they would play hide and go seek. And when he was tired, he would sleep in her shade, and the boy loved the tree very much. And the tree was happy. But time went by, and the boy grew older, and the tree was often alone. Then one day the boy came to the tree, and the tree said, "Come, boy, come and climb on my trunk and swing from my branches and eat apples and play in my shade and be happy." "I am too big to climb and play," said the boy. "I want to buy things and have fun. I want some money. Can you give me some money?" "I'm sorry," said the tree, "but I have no money. I only have leaves and apples. But take my apples, boy, and sell them in the city. Then you will have money and you will be happy." And so the boy climbed up the tree and gathered her apples and carried them away, and the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time, and the tree was sad. And then one day the boy came back, and the tree shook with joy, and she said, "Come, boy, come, climb on my trunk and swing from my branches and be happy." "I am too busy to climb trees," said the boy. "I want a wife, and I want children, and so I need a house. Can you give me a house?" "I have no house," said the tree. "The forest is my house, but you may cut off my branches and build a house. Then you will be happy." And so the boy cut off her branches and carried them away to build his house, and the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time, and when he came back, the tree was so happy she could hardly speak. "Come, boy," she whispered, "come and play." "I am too old and sad to play," said the boy. "I want a boat that will take me far away from here. Can you give me a boat?" "Cut down my trunk and make a boat," said the tree. "Then you can sail away and you will be happy." And so the boy cut down her trunk and made a boat and sailed away, and the tree was happy, but not really. After a long time, the boy came back again. "I am sorry, boy," said the tree, "but I have nothing left to give you. My apples are gone." "My teeth are too weak for apples," said the boy. "My branches are gone," said the tree. "You cannot swing on them." "I am too old to swing on branches," said the boy. "My trunk is gone. You cannot climb," said the tree. "I am too tired to climb," said the boy. "I am sorry," sighed the tree. "I wish I could give you something, but I have nothing left. I am just an old stump. I am sorry." I don't need very much now, said the boy, just a quiet place to sit and rest. I am very tired. Well, said the tree, straightening herself up just as much as she could, well, an old stump is good for sitting and resting. Come, boy, sit down. Sit down and rest. And the boy did. And the tree was happy. The end.
Hi, I'm Jane Stalter, and I'm a freshman here at St. Thomas, and I work in the special collections part of the library, and so I think that's why I was asked to read today. And I wasn't really sure exactly what I was supposed to do for this. I just heard that, bring a poem that's not written by you. And so today I brought a poem called Hydrogen to Cobalt, and it was actually written by a friend of mine. And I'm from Iowa, and we'd go to a lot of poetry readings together. We always wrote a lot of poetry, and she actually got this one published. And the neat thing about this poem, like I said, it's called Hydrogen to Cobalt, and she's a biochem major, and one night when she was studying, she'd been studying for finals for I don't know how many hours. As she was going over the periodic table, she started to make up words, to kind of help her remember each of the elements, and eventually she came up with this poem. And for each line of the poem, or each, it starts out with the elements. For example, like the first line is hand on her shoulder. It starts out with the element H. So it's kind of a short poem, but I thought it was fitting for a college reading simply because this is, what finals cause us, the effect of finals. Okay, so Hydrogen to Cobalt by Ashley Dierenfeld. Hand on her shoulder, he leaned forward, listening carefully to every sour word from her lips. Before it would have seemed to her something not as beautiful as this. Carefully she had tread, never wanting to cross over that invisible, fine line that everyone knows exists. Never did she accuse him of being numb, or admit to herself how naive she really was, although she did ask him for the truth. Simple, she thought, though he proved her wrong yet again with his gentle touch and intricate words. Silence could not be found between them, as they had clearly found out who they really aren't together and who they are alone. Kindling hearts caused the broken relationship to bring out all that she had been, scared to say out loud, to feel in her heart. Time holds them together and keeps them apart, though very little could discourage her thoughts of their newfound friendship, a criminal, unbound love. Feeling, knowing that he would always be hers, odd, considering that he never was. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Bob Douglas, and I'm the coordinator of Central Receiving and Recycling at the University of St. Thomas. When Julie asked me to read, she said I should bring something about the poet, and I'm going to read a poem from Wendell Berry. He's an American poet, a novelist, an essayist, a conservationist, philosopher, visionary, and a farmer. He was born in 1934 in Henry County, Kentucky, graduated from the University of Kentucky in 1956, with a BA degree. In English, he received his MA in Kentucky a year later. Then he began teaching at Georgetown College in 57. He moved to Stanford University as a Wallace Stegner Writing Fellow. And then after lecturing for a year, he stayed on at Stanford as a visiting professor. And that's where he wrote his first novel, Nathan Coulter. In 63, he taught at the New York University. And then in 65, he accepted an invitation to become a member of the faculty as a distinguished professor at the University of Kentucky. And that move allowed Berry to come home to Henry County, where he was born, and he moved on to the family farm, and that's where he still lives, on a 125-acre farm there. He's the 5th generation of his father's family and the 6th of his mother's to farm in Henry County in the neighborhood of Port Royal. And Berry taught at the University of Kentucky until he retired. He's a past fellow of both the Guggenheimer Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation. He's received numerous awards for his work, including from the National Institute and Academy of Arts and Letters in 1971, the T.S. Eliot Award, and recently the Thomas Merton Award, which honors individuals that advance the transformation of the world. Berry's been called perhaps the great moral essayist of our day by the New York Review of Books, and the Christian Science Monitor said Berry is the prophetic American voice of our day. I'm telling you this because probably most of you never heard of him, and I never heard of him until about 3 years ago, and I started reading him and I was going, this guy is incredible. How come I never heard about him? And he's authored over 32 books of essays, poetry, novels. And his most recent novel is Jayber Crow, which was published in 2000. And unfortunately, our library doesn't have that book, but McAllister does, and also it's in the St. Paul Public Libraries. But in the defense of our library, we do have 15 of his books here. So there. Manifesto, the Mad Farmer Liberation Front. This is from The Country of Marriage, 1973. Love the quick profit, the annual raise, vacation with pay, want more of everything ready-made. Be afraid to know your neighbors and to die. And you will have a window in your head. Not even your future will be a mystery anymore. Your mind will be punched in a card and shut away in a little drawer. When they want you to buy something, they will call you. When they want you to die for a profit, they will let you know. So friends, every day do something that won't compute. Love the Lord. Love the world. Work for nothing. Take all that you have and be poor. Love someone who does not deserve it. Denounce the government and embrace the flag. Hope to live in that free republic for which it stands. Give your approval to all you cannot understand. Praise ignorance, for what man has not encountered, he has not destroyed. Ask the questions that have no answers. Invest in the millennium. Plant sequoias. Say that your main crop is the forest that you did not plant, that you will not live to harvest. Say that the leaves are harvested when they have rotted into the mold. Call that profit. Prophesy such returns. Put your faith in the 2 inches of humus that will build under the trees every 1,000 years. Listen to carrion. Put your ear close and hear the faint chattering of the songs that are to come. Expect the end of the world. Laugh. Laughter is immeasurable. Be joyful, though you have considered all the facts. So long as women do not go cheap for power, please women more than men. Ask yourself, will this satisfy a woman satisfied to bear a child? Will this disturb the sleep of a woman near to giving birth? Go with your love to the fields. Lie down in the shade. Rest your head in her lap. Swear allegiance to what is nighest to your thoughts. As soon as the generals and the politicos can predict the motions of your mind, lose it. Leave it as a sign to mark the false trail, the way you didn't go. Be like the fox, who makes more tracks than necessary, some in the wrong direction. Practice resurrection.
Hello, my name is Linda Bachmann, and I'm from the Academic Counseling Office. And I just have to say, this is the nicest lunch hour I've had in a very long time. So I'm grateful that this was put together. I chose a poem from a poet named Mary Oliver. And Mary Oliver's themes tend to usually deal with nature. And that's one of the reasons she's one of my favorite poets. In this particular poem, she's talking about the subject of faith, and I think this poem speaks to me greatly because nature tends to be where I find myself more rooted and more of a spiritual place for me than just about anywhere else. And in this poem, she's using the growth of an ear of corn as a metaphor for what faith is. So with that, little summer poem touching the subject of faith by Mary Oliver. Every summer, I listen and look under the sun's brass and even in the moonlight, but I can't hear anything. I can't see anything. Not the pale roots digging down, nor the green stalks muscling up, nor the leaves deepening their damp pleats, nor the tassels making, nor the shucks, nor the cobs. And still, every day, the leafy fields grow taller and thicker, green gowns lofting up in the night, showered with silk. And so, every summer, I fail as a witness, seeing nothing. I am deaf, too, to the tick of the leaves, the tapping of downwardness from the banyan feet, all of it happening beyond all seeable proof or hearable hum. And therefore, let the immeasurable come. Let the unknowable touch the buckle of my spine. Let the wind turn in the trees, and the mystery hidden in the dirt swing through the air. How could I look at anything in this world and tremble, and grip my hands over my heart? What should I fear? One morning in the leafy green ocean, the honeycomb of the corn's beautiful body is sure to be there.
Hi, I'm Mike Joncas. I'm a priest of this archdiocese. I teach in Catholic studies and theology. And as you might guess, I actually have a religious poem, but not one you'd be used to. Catherine De Vinck is an American poet, Eastern Christian tradition, and she's taken two traditions and combined them. One, a medieval tradition in which the mysteries of the Bible are done as drama, and another tradition that T.S. Eliot probably best represents of writing entire plays in verse. You think of Murder in the Cathedral or The Cocktail Party. So what she takes is the passion, death, and resurrection of Christ, but turns it into a poetic drama. Now, I'm only going to give you a short selection from this, and it's the narrator of the drama just before the Passover meal. So it's just before the Last Supper, and the narrator is trying to set the scene for what's going to take place. Pushed clear through water and blood like a child from a dark woman, out of Egypt Israel was born. It lay squealing in the desert, wanting to take suck. When did we learn to wear the mask of submission, the face of the cowering dog? We still whine for the Egyptian meat, for the cooking pots overflowing with oil. Spirit to flesh, flesh into the ground, the cycle never ends, the wheel turns. We can change, build new cities, twin towers by the river's mouth, but our power bursts like inflated skins. Our houses fall to rubble, our yards to weed. When all is said, our teeth loosen, rattle in the empty skull like seeds. We want, want, want. Do not know what we want. Ecstasy prolonged, orgasm without end, the apple forever sweet, the perfect sun, nailed once and for all, a golden fleece in the hall of our bliss. God, we remember the wind, carrier of manna and quails. Remember our women blackened by the heat and your light before us, a bright pillar in the night of our seeking. Hunched over the backs of camels, how many lands did we cross, waterless and hungry, to come to this city Jerusalem, to weep by this great wall? In the beginning was the beast, sacred, swift life to track, trap, pierce with magic tools, flint, arrow, obsidian knife. The blood of the wilderness flows. Around campfires the hunters gather, roasting the meat, eating with filed teeth great chunks of earth and sky. We have seen the man with bird beak and lion claw, the woman with the owl head draped in the owl's wings. We have passed dancing from one stage to the next, hauling our weight, our pots, our water jars, step after stony step, shedding centuries like breast feathers or scales, becoming who we are. people in an upper room, visited by the God we expected from millennia to millennia, from meal to meal. We have come from the middle and the far distance to eat that one real body, to collect in the ancient cup that one real blood.
Hi, my name is Nadine Fredericks. I am the Associate Director in the Alumni Office, and I have chosen Love You Forever by Robert Munsch, and this is a children's poem borderline story. I got this story, or this poem, when I was pregnant with my first son, and I now have two sons, and it's about a relationship between a mother and her son, and that's why I like it. A mother held her new baby and very slowly rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she held him, she sang, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be." The baby grew, and he grew, and he grew, and he grew. He grew until he was 2 years old, and he ran all around the house. He pulled all the books off the shelves. He pulled all the food out of the refrigerator, and he took his mother's watch and flushed it down the toilet. Sometimes his mother would say, "This kid is driving me crazy." But at nighttime, when that 2-year-old was quiet, she'd open the door to his room, crawled across the floor, looked up over the side of his bed, and if he was really asleep, she picked him up and rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she sang, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be." The little boy grew. He grew and he grew and he grew. He grew until he was 9 years old. And he never wanted to come in for dinner. He never wanted to take a bath. And when Grandma visited, he always said bad words. Sometimes his mother wanted to sell him to the zoo. But at nighttime, when he was asleep, the mother quietly opened the door to his room, crawled across the floor, and looked up over the side of the bed. And if he was really asleep, she picked up that 9-year-old boy and rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she sang, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be." The boy grew. He grew and he grew and he grew. He grew until he was a teenager. He had strange friends, and he wore strange clothes, and he listened to strange music. Sometimes the mother felt like she was in a zoo. But at nighttime, when that teenager was asleep, the mother opened the door to his room, crawled across the floor, and looked up over the side of the bed. And if he was really asleep, she picked up that great big boy and rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she sang, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be." That teenager grew. He grew and he grew and he grew. He grew until he was a grown-up man, and he left home and got a house across town. But sometimes on dark nights, the mother got into her car and drove across town. And if all the lights in her son's house were out, she opened his bedroom window, crawled across the floor, and looked up over the side of the bed. And if that great big man was really asleep, she picked him up and rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she sang, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be." Well, that mother, she got older. She got older and older and older. And one day she called her son and said, "You better come and see me because I'm very old and sick." So her son came and see her. When he came in the door, she tried to sing the song. She sang, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always." But she couldn't finish the song because she was too old and sick. The son went to his mother. He picked her up and rocked her back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And he sang the song, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my mommy you'll be." And when the son came home that night, he stood for a long time at the top of the stairs. And then he went into the room where his very new baby daughter was sleeping. And he picked her up in his arms and very slowly rocked her back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while he rocked her, he sang, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be." The end.
Hi, I just peeled off my winter coat. It's spring and I'm going to read something about summer. I'm Suzanne Donsky. I work in the English department and in the writing center. I also work mostly with international and refugee immigrant students, and language is one of my favorite things. English and other languages. I dabble in quite a few. I have some decent French and some really modest Latin, or Latin's really old, some modest Spanish and Italian. And my Japanese now consists of restaurant food words. And food's another big thing that I love. Besides language and words, I enjoy food. So the poem that I'm going to read today is called Blackberry Eating by Galway, Kinnell. I love to go out in late September among the fat, overripe, icy, black blackberries. To eat blackberries for breakfast. The stalks are very prickly, a penalty they earn for knowing the black art of blackberry making. And as I stand among them, lifting the stalks to my mouth, the ripest berries fall almost unbidden to my tongue, as words sometimes do, certain peculiar words like strengths or squinched, many lettered, one-syllabled lumps, which I squeeze, squinch open and splurge well in the silent, startled, icy black language of blackberry eating in late September.
Hello. My name is Michelle Filkens. I'm a reference librarian on the Minneapolis campus at the Keffer Library. I'm going to read a selection from this book, Quarry, by Joanna Rawson, who is a contemporary American writer. There really isn't a bad poem in the book. The poem that I've chosen to read for you today is Self-Portraits by Frida Kahlo. And I've always been interested by the intersection between visual arts and poetry. And so I guess that's one of the things that I find striking, in addition to the fact that I admire Frida Kahlo's work quite a bit. So this is Self-Portraits by Frida Kahlo. Blood was her dress and her embassy. No one suffered with such grace. She attended her one live exhibit in bed. They rolled her in with 3 monkeys riding the thin canopy. Above her eyebrow, where the third eye opens and slams like a loose shutter, her husband, the magnificent Slav Diego Rivera, and a white medallion skull trade watch over the crawl space. Imagine the stamina of standing for years with that crushed spine aligned in wire, with vines oozing from the trap door in her chest onto the seething ground. Imagine capturing your own excruciating pose in oil, fashioning it, flattening it, fastening it by a hook to your deathbed frame. Which of these agonizing entrances to the interior body did she find most glamorous? No one suffered from such eagerness. She lay all afternoon giving birth in the gallery to arrows, scars, to garlands severed from her stillborn generation. No one left her altar unharmed. No one took more pleasure in the shattered mirror on the ceiling than she.
Okay, I'm the last one here. I, as usual, like to advance the agenda of diversity in anything I do. And as you know, some of you probably recall my name. Do y'all know? Raj, yeah, there you go, Raj. And I work with the Diversity Office of Multicultural Student Service Office as a Associate Director, and I occasionally teach a few classes on campus. And so here I am with a story. Actually, I am going to violate this Poetry on the Patio program by reading a story about one of the incarnations of God. And in the Hindu stories, and if you know anything about Hinduism, you know Hinduism is full of myth. The religion is built on mythology. And if you don't know anything about mythology, at least take a look at Joseph Campbell's videos on the power of myth, and you will be amazed at how myth is found in all our religions and all our beliefs and faiths. I have a few other books here on Rama and pictorial stories for children. These books you will not get in this library, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever it is. We also will not find this in Barnes and Nobles. But I do have some references here that you can actually buy these books. I think it's a great way to kind of introduce some stories of religious faiths and beliefs from other parts of the world. Now, today I'm going to read you the story of Manikantan. Manikantan, if you know anything about this name, it's an Indian name which is found primarily in South India. And I speak the South Indian language, so I'm going to teach you one of the things to say, Vanakkam. Everybody follow me. Vanakkam. Louder. Ah, there you go. Vanakkam. That's a greeting. Okay, Manikantan, story by Jayashree. So starts out by saying, Lord Ayyappa was an incarnation of Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. As a child, he was lying on the bank of the river Pampa with a gem necklace round his neck. Rajeshkara, the king of Pantala, had no progeny. When he came to the forest hunting, he noticed a crying child. Just then a sage came there. O king, your prayers are answered. Take this child, name it Manikantan, one with the gem necklace. That's what the name interprets to be. I shall do accordingly, the king said. You will come to know who this child is when he attains 12 years. The king and the queen were very pleased and happy that they had gotten a child. But the minister was sorry. The minister was thinking to himself, he said, I have planned that after this king, I shall become the monarch. A child has now appeared as an obstacle to my plan. Manikantan grew to 5 years. The king sent the boy for training under a guru. When the training was over, a guru or a teacher or a sage, Manikantan asked the guru, O master, I want to give you, the teacher, a fee. Please say what you will have. And the guru, or the teacher, turns around to the student and said, I don't want any fee, but my son is dumb and blind. I know that Shiva and Vishnu shine in you. Please be gracious enough to bestow on my son the ability to speak and see. And Manikantan said, Master, I shall certainly fulfill your desire. So Manikantan placed Vilva and Tulasi, these are two different types of leaves that are found in the Indian gardens, leaves in a cup of milk. He put also in it some holy ash after chanting a mantra or a prayer. Then he made the boy drink the milk. Behold, the boy began to see and speak. And they began to sing the praise, the guru and others, Ayyappa, Ayyappa. Now it's a chant. This is a mantra or a chant that people usually say during prayers, and I have said it, and many hundreds and thousands and millions of people are saying it today. Finishing his training, Manikantan returned to the palace. After some years, the queen gave birth to a son. They named him Raja Ram, the king of kings. The king and the queen brought up both the boys and looked after them as if they were the pupils of their eyes. The king grew old. He decided to crown Manikantan. The wicked minister came to know of this. O queen, when there is Rajaram born to you, why crown Manikantan? He's planting a seed here. Manikantan, who was just an orphan in the woods. The queen began to think, what can I do in that regard? If you will, you can stop the crowning of Manikantan and make Rajaram the king in the near future. If there is such a possibility, please tell me the way. I shall certainly act accordingly. Well, as advised, the minister, the queen, pretended that she was suffering from a severe headache. The king was in jitters. Many doctors treated her, but to no purpose. Minister, the doctor of the palace, are unable to cure the king. What shall we do now? O king, don't worry. I know a herbalist who can cure the queen's headache in no time. Bring him immediately. The wicked minister brought a counterfeit doctor. Your Majesty, if the herb that I have is given to the queen, her headache will vanish. But if it has to be mixed with the milk of a tiger for it to work, whoa! Proclaim by beat of drum throughout the land that anyone who is able to bring tiger milk to cure the queen's headache will be given half of my kingdom. Many went to the forest to procure tiger milk, but no one succeeded. At this juncture, Manikantan, the orphan son, approached the king. Father, give me leave. I shall go and get the tiger milk to cure mother's headache. The king was unwilling to part with Manikantan because of his love for the boy. But as Manikantan persisted, he gave him his permission half willingly. Manikantan took the leave of the queen. She pretended as if she was also unwilling to part from him. Ah, the headache is unbearable. Mother, don't worry. I shall go to the forest and somehow bring the tiger milk. May Lord Shiva be gracious to you. A demoness called Mahisha was harassing the goddess in many ways. The gods met Manikantan in the forest and reminded him about the mission for which he had been incarnated. Please save us from Mahisha, the kings begged Manikantan. Agreeing to the request of the gods, Manikantan fought a severe battle with Mahisha and killed her. You have blessed us by destroying Mahisha, the evil. In gratitude, I, Indra, shall become the tiger, and the gods will become tigresses, and all of us shall come with you to the palace. Manikantan, you are not an ordinary man. I realize that you are the divine son of Shiva and Vishnu. Please send away the tigers, said the king. Oh, my boy, please forgive me. Without understanding your greatness, I tried to harm you. And that says the queen. And Manikantan said, Father, I shall milk the tigress, and mother's headache will immediately vanish. Mother, I know everything. When the mother disclosed her reason for sending the boy out, he said, Mother, I know everything. Father, please tell me what boon you want. I desire to build a temple in memory of your stay with us, and your desire will be fulfilled, said Manikantan to the father, the king. As instructed by sage Aksatya, the king built a temple of 18 steps on the Sabari hill. Sage Parameswara installed an image of Manikantan there. This temple attracts a huge crowd even today and remains an abode of peace and blessedness. I have to tell you this story in particular I chose primarily because my brother, to this day, my older brother, to this day visits the temple every year to pay a pilgrimage on a yearly basis. And now he's bringing his oldest son, who is about 13 years old, with him. and he took his trip last year with my brother. And the temple is still there, and the pilgrimages still continue. But the essence of this story is about the what Islam calls the jihad, within the struggle of good and evil, the struggle between love, the struggle between desires and values and so on and so forth that takes place within us is depicted throughout Indian mythology. You see them in the form of incarnations, and gods are very much humanized in the stories. They don't have any of these mythical values, but they are humanized, and they have the same struggles that we go through as human beings. So that's one of the reasons I chose this story. Thank you for coming, everybody.
Thanks, Raj, and thank you to all the readers who read today. I hope that many of you had the experience that Bob did when he discovered Wendell Berry, and that is that you became aware of a poet who's doing work, and you were unfamiliar with that person. I'm regularly surprised to discover just incredible poets that are working in America today. And that's one of the reasons that we do this, so to introduce you all to those kinds of writers. So thanks to everybody who read today. If you didn't read today, remember, next year is going to be just a whopper of a reading. So be prepared. We'll see you then.